Welcome in to another edition of Nick Patrick's Mailbag right here exclusively on Podcast Eat Wrestling YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. We are live here and we are going to answer anything you want to talk about. I am your co-host Casio. I'm going to try to steer the ship with the world's most hated ref, the NWO heel ref himself, Mr. Mullet, Mr. Neck Brace, the one and only Mr. Nick Patrick. How are you, buddy?
The hell, I'm Mr. Old Guy now, man. I was looking at myself on the deal, and I said, damn, I look like I'm up to something all the time, man. So people look at me and man, that guy's up to something, man.
You had that look back in the day, though. You always looked like you were up to something.
I didn't have to work at it. It just was natural, man.
You've heard a resting bee face. You got resting up to something face. That's what you got. We are joined hopefully by you watching live, but we thank you for any time you are watching us. If you don't catch the live and you catch the replay, we greatly appreciate that. Leave some questions. We'll get to those as we will also get to live questions as well. And we'll get to as many of those as before we get out of here in about an hour or so. And if you want to jump to the front of the line, or if you want to support the show, you can easily hit us with a super chat, and those will go to the top of the list. We will make sure we get those on and get your comment or question to us read and displayed for everyone to enjoy. So go ahead and hit us there in the super chat, or just hit us in the regular chat, and we'll get to as many of that as we can today. Nick, I know we got a lot to cover with Deep South Wrestling, of course. You guys had a big event, so we'll get to that. We'll see what's coming up. It's the birthday of a friend of yours, old friend of yours, who we've talked about on the show, Mr. Paul Orndorff's birthday, so we'll get into his stories as well. All right. So we got a lot to do today and a lot to get to. So first of all, Deep South Wrestling, you guys had October Rust, man. Last time we talked to you, this was going to be a big one. How did it end up going down?
What ended up going down was we had a rain delay for about an hour, and it looked like we was going to have a window of opportunity to run our show, and that window closed hard when another wall came through. So we ended up, but I'm a realist. You run, when you run outdoor shows predominantly, it's going to happen sometime. And I think back, we've run in the coldest day in wrestling history and all that.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of crazy ass things. But in 3 years of all the outdoor shows that we've run, I think that we've canceled 2.
Wow.
In 3 years. So we, knock on wood, we've been very, very lucky, so I'm disappointed. It was going to be a great thing. But some of the matches will be rescheduled for November.
Okay.
Our big show in November, because we're going back in November and at the end of the month. But we are working on that card now since this one got rained out. So that's going to change, what we were planning on, booking, because you try to look forward ahead when you're booking, So
yeah.
But it's going to leave a lot of cool opportunities and availabilities open. So our next show in November should be really, really hot.
That's crazy. I do remember when our mutual buddy Road Dogg went down, and it ended up being cold. He said it's the coldest wrestling show I've ever been to ever.
Yeah, probably anybody been to. It was freezing out there, man. Yeah, we was giving away free hot chocolate and free coffee for our fans, and we still had, that's just not a lot of people. Then you're thinking of the WWE running dome shows. We're little indie shows, running on the Beltline to restaurants. We still had a couple hundred people. I was like, wow, because I was wondering if I was going to go myself. I could say, guys, I can't get away, man. I can't get anybody to watch my mom. But I didn't want to do that because that's a legitimate excuse that I have constantly now, and
Yeah.
it really wasn't the case that time. I was gonna pull that card though. It was man, but if those kids was gonna go out there and suffer through it, then I was gonna at least go stand there with my coat on,
Yeah, that's when you
So,
look at the forecast, you see that weather and you go, well,
oh
that
my
looks like
God.
I'm about to get sick that day.
Yeah, and then Eric come up with this idea about making it the coldest day, blah blah blah. And I thought, are you nuts? But he made it work.
It made it work.
And the restaurant was happy because it was so cold that they wouldn't have had any business otherwise. And we had a couple hundred people come up to see the
I
show and
love it.
eat. So it wasn't like our regular shows because we had, a lot more people than our regular shows, especially in the summertime and in the spring. But for an all-out cold winter with a frost warning and all that,
Yeah.
they did pretty. They were happy as hell.
We got your questions coming up. Y'all can hit us up as well. We'll get to as many of those as we can. Eric Tate's always already chiming in and said, how come referees never smile?
Because we're worked half to death and they hate it. Because we're trying to get treated like humans. I'm a human.
Shawn Michaels wasn't the only one who lost his smile. It was the refs as well.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's see.
Because they won't ever give us a damn raise. That's why we get more work and more miles, but no more money.
He said also, how big was center stage?
Not real big. I think it's like I think you can get 2,000 people in there, 2,500, depending on the seating arrangement. It's not big, but it looks really good on TV because the seating goes straight up. But it's an excellent little venue, man. I've seen done a lot of wrestling there, and I've seen several concerts there, and it was really good acoustics wise, and a great little venue in Atlanta, very hot venue.
Is it just one of those that's set up the layout's perfect for wrestling and
pretty much,
deal?
yeah, because every seat in there you're close to the ring. It wouldn't be a lot of ringside because there wouldn't be hardly any ringside because all the camera work and stuff, but the seating came right to the edge, depending on the placement of the ring. Then they'd have all the hard cameras and announcers and tables and all that stuff on the other side. But seating wise for like a concert, I think you can get a couple thousand people in there.
Woo, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, little Jimmy's with us. He said, hello, Mr. Great Nick Patrick.
How you doing, sir?
Hello, Jimmy. Good to see you, buddy. And he hit us with a super chat. So thank you for that,
cool.
Little Jimmy.
All right, man.
He said, thoughts on dirt sheet columnists like a Dave Meltzer. Do you think he could ever change and actually be factual and not full of bull? So first of all, let's break that down. Thank you for the super chat, Little Jimmy. Great question.
Good question.
First of all, what's your thoughts on, quote, dirt sheets as a whole? Not specifically anybody, but just what's your thoughts always been with that?
I didn't ever like them. I wasn't a fan of them. And I'm going to be honest with you. In all my entire career, I think I've looked at a dirt sheet and read maybe a paragraph, period. I think I looked at it maybe one time for sure, maybe twice, just because somebody said, hey, look, back in the day when it was actually printed sheet,
Yeah.
When, but it didn't interest me, and it kind of pissed me off because I thought inside was supposed to be inside. Okay. And it got to where, and I don't know who was feeding him. He had some great inside connections because it was ridiculous to see what was going to happen with their freaking career.
Yeah.
They didn't know because they knew more than the guys themselves knew. So but I was never a fan. I like keeping kayfabe as much as possible. I know that it's dead, but I always refer to our business as being like magic, like a magician. You know it's magic, it's a gimmick, it's a trick, but as long as you can't see through it and you don't see the strings hanging down and you don't see or see the trap doors or any of that crap, you're like, whoa, how do they do that? And I compare wrestling to the same thing. I think people want to look at what we do and go, holy crap, that had to hurt. How do they do that? Instead of going, oh, they're doing this is how they do that. This is how they do that. And it takes away from from the drama. But you look at the crowds that the WWE and some of the other bigger companies are drawing, and it's they're not killing themselves doing it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it myself. I like keeping it, and it's like a magic soap opera combined, because you got magic. The magic is in the actual performance, but the soap opera is in the storyline. Unless you have storyline, you just got a bunch of people out there doing spots,
Yeah.
So you have to have both equations have to fuse together there to be successful.
Yeah, and there's when I've always looked at the quote unquote dirt sheets, newsletters, whatever you want to call them, there's also a separate thing. There's a news reporting element that I think is fun, and it helps grow sports entertainment, helps wrestling, and that is treat it like a sport. Who's re-signing where? Who's injured?
Yeah.
When are they expected to come back? That's fun stuff. That's a news. That's news tidbits I like personally. This is just my opinion. And then the other side is the speculative. This is what was going to happen. Like you said, inside information fed within. And then there's a whole segment of rating matches, which is a very interesting take of, it's a performance.
It's their opinion. It's a guy's opinion. And that's what's beautiful about our country. Everybody can have an opinion,
Yeah.
And, you can be a master of the business and your opinion means something. You could never have drawn a dime or even looked at you and you still have an opinion,
Yeah.
So I think that's what give him a lot of leeway, honestly. But it was different when Meltzer first come out. It was something that was different, and it was like I said. People were caught up in storylines and was trying to read to see what was going on. It was like they were getting smartened up, and so he made a niche for himself in our industry without ever having to really learn the industry or take a bump. So I mean, I guess I can applaud him for that, but I've never really been a fan of his, to be honestly.
Sure, it's. That's a fair statement. And his next question was, do you think Meltzer would ever change and be factual? He thinks he's full of bull.
No, he is what he is, man. You got what you got. He didn't want to change his formula. Look what his formula's been successful for him.
Yes.
He can be as full of shit as he wants to be, and it's working for him. So
if he says a match sucks and everybody says they
so
love
many
it,
people think that he's the expert on the industry. That's Dave Meltzer. Yeah, so he's convinced a shitload of people of that. So I applaud him for that.
Let's see. Jack Spade hit us up, said, hey guys, it is October 29th, and that means it would have been Paul Orndorff's birthday. Right. Nick, if anybody has listened to the show or knows about you, we have talked about it. You've actually did some television stories about it, but you were present for the Orndorff Vader fight backstage. That's well documented.
Saw the whole thing. Saw what started it, start to finish. When you like guys, you don't want to see that shit. And it was brutal. It was brutal, and I told the story. And I tried not to glorify it. But it was what it was. But I was there. I've seen a lot of crazy shit. That was one of them.
I always take you saw him beat his ass in flip flops.
There wasn't a lot of punches thrown. The knockout punch hit within the first 2 or 3 punches it was thrown. Leon pushed Paul down on a pile of wood. Paul come up off that pile of wood. He looked like he was friggin' possessed, and they went to it, man. And when they come in, Leon threw a punch. They might have been his first or second punch that he threw, and Paul ducked it and hit him with an uppercut. And I think he hit him with the arm that was starting that he had trouble with because he had neck problem. Yeah, and I don't think Leon was expecting that. But that's what got him right on the button, man. And he went down face first, and then the kicks started happening. Woo. And Paul hadn't had them flip flops on. It would have been. I mean, it was bad enough as it was. you know. But if it had like boots or something on, oh my God, you know.
What was we've talked about that flight. And like you said, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're on a Dark Side of the Ring episode for that.
Yeah.
Everybody should go check that out. They did a great job telling that story. But we never got into it deeper. What was your personal relationship with Paul like?
Oh, we were good friends. We talked all the time. I worked a lot of his matches. He liked working with me. I liked working with him. We ribbed a lot, you know. There was somebody showed a clip on Facebook not too long ago, and it brought back a memory. It made me laugh like hell. Me and Paul were like nose to nose, just arguing. Both of us was talking gibberish the whole time. I looked at him and I said, "You right now, the next baby, the driver comes out." And he was doing the same shit right back to me, man. And people thought we was arguing our asses off. I don't think one actual word of English was spoken.
That's great. That's selling right there, baby.
Yeah. What?
When do you remember meeting Paul for the first time? What do you remember?
Met him in Georgia Championship Wrestling. That's the first time I met him. He came through there, and he was young and strong, and I remember a match and Ole did this for a reason, because different guys. He was a booker there, but he had a match with Paul Orndorff in Columbus, Georgia, and Ole let Paul beat him with a headlock.
Whoa.
And yes, can you imagine that now in this time of day? But it worked.
Headlock.
It worked, because Paul would grab that headlock and he looked great, and he was smooth, and nobody just stood there and did a rest hold. It was, we were working, but everything that Ole did, he couldn't get out of that friggin' headlock. He'd get to the ropes, the ref would make them break, and as soon as they'd lock up, Paul would end up getting back to that headlock. Only to suplex it, but Paul wouldn't let go of that headlock. Finally, Paul just cracked it, kept cracking it until Ole just went down and took the 1, 2, 3. I beat with a headlock.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that.
It worked. I mean, he tried everything under the sun to get out of it. And when he'd get to the ropes, it would break. But in whatever they would do, as soon as they'd lock up, he'd do something. Paul get right back to that headlock. Oh, damn! And try him with it.
Oh man! But it
worked.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never heard of it, so that's awesome. I'm sure somebody might have, but what a great idea. So that leads me to who's got the best headlock in Deep South? We need to bring this booking back.
Who's got the best headlock in Deep South right now? Oh man, I don't know. I'd have to check that out, because
C-Dub's with us. Has he got a good headlock?
Yeah, just C-Dub. Yeah, C-Dub's got some headlock skills. I think that C-Dub C-Dub got somebody in a headlock, they'd be in some big trouble, man.
C-Dub, we just booked your next match, brother. You're doing
a headlock match with Austin Towers.
Headlock, yeah. He's gonna have trouble getting up there and headlocking him. That's
we get him. Yeah, that would end up having to turn into a ladder match then, so C-Dub could get up there.
A ladder match, C-Dub.
A ladder headlock match.
He said, "Can he keep his neck brace on?"
Yeah. You're going to need it, so you might as well just leave it on, man.
You need all the sympathy you can get, man.
Yeah. Maybe he won't hit you. You got that neck brace on. I think he'll have to show you some sympathy.
He can slip out. That's the gimmick. He slips out of the neck brace and slips out of the headlock. That's fun.
Yeah, I was brokenhearted, man. I got to go to my last show, and it had a damn rain out, man. But it was a good thing. I got to address my troops.
I was so excited to hear. I was like, man, boots on the ground.
Yeah,
man. To hang out and see this big October
but it was good
show.
though, because I needed to address the troops and talk, different stuff. And,
yeah,
they have to know that I'm still around, and so there's going to be some really cool stuff coming up here with Deep South too. So you guys keep your eyes open for us, because we're swinging. It's a wrestling business. Things, you have to roll with punches and sometimes come up with plan Bs, and if you're not ready to do that, then you don't get in it.
That's it. There's a lot of change in this business.
Yeah.
Talking about, we're still continuing talking about Paul Orndorff since it would have been his birthday today. Nick, we talked about the fight. Do you remember? Do you happen to remember the Halloween Havoc '93 match, Steamboat and Orndorff?
I think so.
The ref.
Was there two rings there?
You were the ref, and the assassin, Mr. Jody Hamilton, was with Orndorff.
Okay, I kind of remember. I remember working with Pop and Paul. I don't really remember what they did. I think Pop had a big white jacket on at the time, a big white suit coat on, if I'm not mistaken. If that was the same show, because I know that there was Pop didn't go to a lot of the TVs. He did a couple TVs and a couple pay-per-views with it, but it wasn't like he was going out on the road with them.
Yeah, in that match, Orndorff won by a count out. The assassin, your dirty dog dad.
He probably hit somebody with something.
He headbutted him.
Loaded headbutt.
You were turned around paying attention to Orndorff, and the assassin headbutted Steamboat, and he got counted out. So that was a big point. Had to be fun to get somebody you're friends with, Orndorff, and I assume you're friends with Steamboat. You got your dad running around out there. You're involved in the finish.
Working with Pop was always fun too. But I had to be on my toes. He was like Harley. When you work with them, they rib you constantly. And if you get too close and you're doing something, all of a sudden you're going to get a pinch on the inside of your arm there on that soft skin, or on the inside of your leg on that soft skin. That really hurts. If somebody latches onto that soft skin and gives it a little pinch and a twist, like ow. Yeah, and you try to no sell some of that stuff, and them old timers, they know you're going to try to no sell it, so they're like, oh God, I'm staying the hell away from over there.
I for sure found a story. I for sure found a match. I'm sure you did a bunch with Orndorff over the years, but I pulled one from a Nitro show in '95. And it was Orndorff and Johnny B. Bad. And in that one, Orndorff headbutted you.
Oh, really?
If Orndorff's around, somebody's getting headbutted.
I bet I did the big flailing arm sell, too, like I got shot. That's what I used to tell guys, because they were trying to come up with all these crazy bumps and shit they wanted to take. I said, man, you can come up to me and flick me like a bug, and I'm going to act like you shot me, dude. You don't have to shoot me out of a cannon or have me do a triple Lindy or any of that shit. Just hit me. I'll sell it.
So we've talked about the matches, and we know the story, and we know his career. But from your viewpoint, as a friend, as somebody who has shared the ring with him, what made Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, so good?
Oh, I think the look for the time and his aggressiveness. He was able to change gears with his work. He could do the talking and walking and Shakespeare and stuff. But you watch, when it was time for Paul to get heat, man, he turns it on.
Yeah.
He starts whooping somebody's ass when he's getting some heat. It's that gear change, and all your good heels and baby faces too. All your good workers know how to hit those gear changes at the right time, and he was very, very good at that. When it was time to, he could he could take his time and do his stuff and wrestle and do good, solid wrestling and even do spots. But when it was time to get that heat, man, he kicked it in gear, and I think that was one of the things that got him over so well. And just the look and the persona too, and going to work for Vince too. That's he had his own gimmick working for all these other players, drew money in all the territories and stuff. But people remember the Mr. Wonderful when they think of it mostly as Vince's presentation. I think that's with a lot of guys that ended up going up there and becoming big stars that were huge stars in other places, with similar, gimmicks and characters. But when you look back on them and you think, Vince's presentation is generally what people think of and remember him as.
Yeah. We know the fight with Vader is one thing. Was that a rare thing, or did some people not rub Paul the right way, or was that a rare thing?
Paul had a couple of brawls. Paul had a couple of beefs.
Okay.
He got into it with Tony Atlas one time too. And I wasn't there. I was on the tour, but I was in a different car. We went, so I didn't see the fight. And Tommy Rich was in the car. And he tells it that they had words and they were talking. I don't know how, just the conversation in the car. And but a lot of guys back then, Tommy wasn't, but those guys back then were jacked up and sauced up, and man, guys that are jacked up and sauced up, sometimes they have those damn tempers. They want to fight the world. Well, I don't know what happened, but they ended up having words and pulling the car over, and they locked up and they went down, and in the course of going down, I guess Tony had Paul in some kind of hold, and Paul just reached up and bit his ear and bit him. Damn, almost bit the son bitch off. Tony had to go get it sewed back up and take time off for it. Yeah.
Bit his ear.
Bit him. Yeah. I mean, a lot harder than Holyfield got.
That's a
lot worse than Holyfield got bit. A lot worse.
He was the original Tyson.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they was rolling around on the side of the damn road like a couple of damn idiots.
Holy smokes.
And Paul was bit him right on the ear, man. Tony had some kind of hold on him, and Tony's big, strong. That's what you get up. If he's got you, you ain't gonna get away, But I guess anything goes in a fight. That's why I don't want to fight friends ever, because that shit it goes. That's part of the deal, But yeah, that's what happened. He got a couple beat. There was one time him and Brian Blair were really good friends.
Okay.
And Paul used to, back in the day, it was Copenhagen big time. It ended up causing problems. But man, Brian Blair one time found a damn big ass water bugs and took it and put it in Paul's can of dip. And Paul went and opened up that can of dip, and that big ass water bug come running out. And he knew somebody did it, and he was a man. Whoa. He was going to kill somebody. He got so mad that nobody would say that. Nobody was going to let him know Brian did it. And Brian didn't admit it. Fess up to the rib because Paul was going to kill somebody.
Y'all would have been an accessory to murder. Yeah. Stitches get stitches too in that case. Everybody would have got it.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday to Paul Orndorff, of course. I know he is a missed man, and I know you guys, had a long career together. Y'all spent a few years together.
Yeah, Georgia Championship Wrestling, we worked together, and WCW we worked together, and WWE he come in and out up there a little bit, So yeah, I've known Paul since early '80s.
Great stuff. One of the greats right there.
Yeah, good guy.
Ibsen Arroyo said, what's your thoughts on Cowboy Bill Watts?
I wasn't one of his big fans, but you have to give him credit. He ran an awesome territory, and it was a good place to go and learn. And I was very fortunate to go there and be one of the people that got to do that during the course of my career.
So you wrestled under him.
Yeah, so I don't want to get on him too hard, but it is what he is for that day and that time and in that era, and a boss and the owner is not supposed to be everybody's buddy, So I know that side of it as well, but and I like his son Eric, his other kids. I've met them, and they seem okay, but I know Eric better, and I wouldn't go out and say, and just come out and blast him, what would be the point, but I will say this, I was not a huge fan, and I got along okay with him, but there was a little collision that almost happened in WCW at one point in time and I didn't like it, and I didn't really have a problem with anything that happened in Mid-South, but I blew my knee out real bad there. And I think that he had this. I think this is why he had a hard on for me. I blew my knee out in Louisiana. And back then when you got hurt, it was like pat you on the back and, hey, kid, I like your work. Let me know when you're well.
Yeah.
So I come back and I go to the Houston clinic down in Columbus, Georgia. And it was run, Dr. Norwood was the doctor that worked on me, but Dr. Andrews that, the big
World famous.
Yeah, world famous. He had a place in Birmingham, but he also had a place. It's called the Houston Clinic, and he was like the head surgeon there. But he's not the one that did my surgery. Another guy did. But when my knee was blown out, and I had to get a second opinion on what to do. So I didn't know where to go. I went there, and they had their own legal team. And since it happened to me in the ring, and I was under, even though I was an independent contractor, they were liable for it. And I was paying for my surgery. And I think I was one of the first wrestlers that a wrestling promoter ended up having to pay for, was kind of forced to have to pay for their knee surgery, because they had a legal team that, I didn't have anything to do with it. They said, I said, okay, they answer all these questions, and the legal team they had their own legal team. A lot of law accident, places do that now. But this one was Dr. Andrews, so it wasn't a scam.
Wow.
This is the real deal.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the doctor did a tremendous job. They told me I'd never do anything athletic again. They were brutally honest with me. This is 1985. I had 2 weeks before Christmas, and and it was a long time before I felt confident enough to be able to, because after my surgery, they put a cast on my leg. They don't do that anymore, but that's how they did it back then. And my leg was bent, and it took me like 2 years to get to where I could walk without a limp, and was comfortable enough to where I could even try to jog, because I couldn't jog with my leg still bent, but part of getting it to straighten out was trying to do backward sprints. And I was doing that as much as I could, but oh man. And it works, but I tell you what, when some of that scar tissue tears loose and you get a little bit more of that mobility, that hurts like a bitch, man. And when you feel something go in your knee again, you're like, oh shit, and then you realize, okay, it hurts, but I'm okay, and then you're like, damn, I can bend it a little bit more, but I don't want to, I'm gonna let it ice it here, but that happens a lot, and it happened to me a lot, and then we opened up Deep South, and I got to doing so much crap in the ring training guys. I thought, shit, if I can do all this shit, I can ref. I knew it, and a spot opened up for WCW.
Yeah.
And Pop asked me, he said, kid, do you think you can do it? I said, hell yeah, throw my name in there,
So on the circling back to the lawsuit that the legal team, they're filing that against, at the time, was it Bill Watts?
Yeah.
Okay.
They filed it against Mid-South. Yeah. He had to pay for my knee.
And he paid?
Yeah.
So you think ever since then he didn't,
yeah.
doing a good
Then
life?
he came to WCW for a while, and he was kind of under the same deal that like Laurinaitis had. He got 1% of all the money that he saved. So he would come in and try to just disrupt all kinds of shit, and I think he had a hard on for me because he didn't like that he had to pay for legally had to pay for my surgery, that he was forced to do. I think it pissed him off, honestly. So I think that's why he messed with me a little bit, and I guess he figured I'd blow and cost me my job. I blew, but I went internally and did it somewhere else. I thought, just lay hands upon me, old timer.
Swing.
He probably could whoop my ass anyway, but it would have been a horrendous thing to have to try and do because I was evil.
Yeah, you were going to see. You might not win, but you're going to find out if you can win or not. That's it.
I like that old line. I forgot what movie it's in. I said, I ain't real tough, but I cheat real good.
Well, that's proven by the NWO. So you proved that. Let's see. Luke Weaver's in the chat. Thanks, Luke, for joining us, and said, I'd love to know what the time around the sale of WCW, the Evasion angle, was like for Nick and the other WCW refs. I always loved that we had Patrick versus Hebner and the surrounding story. So, Nick, when the sale is happening, do you remember who kind of the core group of refs were then at WCW?
Yeah, it was me and Mickey Henson and Billy Silverman and Scott Armstrong and Scott Dickinson.
Okay. Is there ever like a meeting between all the refs and going, hey, what are we thinking?
No. We didn't know shit until we showed up down in Panama City. In fact, the night before we had a house show somewhere, and they called a little meeting of the talent. Look, there's a lot of rumors going around that we're selling, and we're here to let everybody know that it's bullshit. And we're like, oh, okay, So then we show up at Panama City, thinking that it's all bullshit, and here comes Shano and Jerry Briscoe and security, and I'm like, well, I guess the bullshit happened last night instead of tonight.
Yeah, they had it wrong. It was the wrong day.
Yeah.
See, Nick, if you would have been reading them dirt sheets, you might have known what was happening.
Damn it, where was Meltzer when I needed him, man? Jeez.
He was telling us y'all were getting.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah, if I'd have just read the dirt sheet.
Somebody should have showed you that episode.
It all ties back together, man. See,
it does. And so you've talked about making that switch over.
Yeah.
And you who all made it over? Were you the only one, or was there any other?
Couple of us, me and Billy Silverman at first. He didn't last very long. He had to run in, and people were ribbing him. He couldn't take being ribbed very well. When we first went there, it was like, they were all busting our balls. And the very first week in there, he was on a flight, and he bumped us. Because we all had miles. Because we flew everywhere with WCW. We came up there, we had miles. So he bumped himself up to first class, and Pat Patterson was back in coach. And out of respect, especially up there, there was a respect is a huge thing. A younger guy gives up his seat to the older guy, and especially if the older guy's an agent, is Pat Patterson, for God's sake, But Billy just sat up there and did his thing, and let Pat go sit to the back, and all the big time folks saw that, and it got heat, and so they started ribbing him and effing with him, and he didn't take it real well, and we was at WrestleMania in, I believe it was WrestleMania in Toronto. And I was going to go head over to the building from the hotel. I'm waiting for him. And he did. I had to call the room. I said, and there wasn't no answer. I called the front desk. I said, oh, he checked out at 10 o'clock this morning, and we took him to the airport. I said, oh, well, all righty then. So I was already 10 minutes late, and I didn't want to be late because we're fresh here, and they've got rules and they must balls, and so, okay, I'm 10 minutes late now for a guy that just left and didn't even say goodbye to me. And I hadn't been ribbing him. I didn't do shit to him.
You came in with him.
Yeah. All you could have done was said, Nick, I'm out of here, man. F this bullshit. And I said, okay. Okay. Then I'd have been on time. I wouldn't have had no, But when I come in and I said, hey, look, man, this guy's gone. And so the heat, me being 10 minutes late, shifted over to, he did what?
You threw that gone. Distraction grenade at him. Yeah, I got a reason. He gone. That's a good reason. Yeah. He gone.
Yeah, he gone.
Do you know, and I know you don't know everybody's situation, and, didn't know if you talked to all of them, but to your knowledge, because you talked about, having a meeting with JR and it was a pay cut, and you were like, hey, it's the only job out there at the time.
Right.
Do you know if you and Silverman, that's right, it's Silverman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were y'all the only two that got offers? Did others turn it down? Like, did they get lowball? Do you know?
I think Charles Robinson came too. I'm not sure, but I think Charles came too. But there was they just brought like three of us at first, because I talked Mickey in and I talked Scott Armstrong in with Laurinaitis.
Eventually.
So, yeah. Because they were both good guys, could work, and they were looking for somebody. So they were sitting at home, man. And he had one reason for one guy, another reason for another guy. I said, well, this guy's done this and the other guy's done this, so, it kind of fixed both of his reasons, so I ended up both of them. And, I'm not saying I got them a job, but, I let him know that they're available and whatever.
It was a friendly reminder of what he had sitting there.
They're there, and whatever beef you had with him has been straightened out,
Yeah. Especially on their end.
Yeah.
They'll gladly take the job. Yeah.
They had, you call them and they're going to be dancing in the streets,
so. Say thank you. Yeah, for sure. Let's see what we got. Mad Mac Davis.
All right.
Did you ever poop yourself in the ring?
A little bit. One time I was working with Dr. Death Steve Williams, and I was a wrestler at the time, man. And his finish was that he'd scoop you up and do a running, jumping, diving. He called it the stampede, and it was a power slam, but he would run and jump up in the air, and it was pretty, it was impressive looking. And Doc was so freaking strong. Holy crap, because I was light, and I wasn't that, I was like 220 maybe, but I was a worker, and I could go with stuff. You didn't have to hoist me, And he hooked me up there, man, and ran. And it was like he was carrying a little bag of groceries. And he did that run and jump into a power slam and come down on top of me. And thank God it was a finish. And it wasn't bad, but it was enough to where I went, oh, God, oh, no. And when I got back, I said, okay, it wasn't too bad. Thank God. It wasn't like disastrous, but it wasn't, it was there.
It was like you smuggled a Sharpie in,
Yeah, man, boy. Off. Yeah. Yeah, that just then, that was really the only time.
Did you ever pee yourself?
No.
Well, I didn't expect you to say yeah on poop, so I was going to ask on pee.
Not in the ring.
You've been shortly, not too far from it, have you?
Well, hey man, if that's getting that bad, I've had shows where had to do the entire show, and I've one time I told the announcer, you better talk for about 10 minutes. you better keep me because I'm not going to be in this goddamn ring. I'm going to pee right now. You better have about 10 minutes worth of shit to say because I'm out. He's okay, man. And blah, 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 blah. And off I went, man.
That's great, dude. Let's see. Halloween's coming up, Nick. Is Big Nick a big Halloween guy?
He was when he was a kid. Now he just likes to, and he don't even eat a whole lot of the candy. There's a couple things. Nick is very regimented with everything, and if he's going to have the candy, he'll eat it when it's dessert time after dinner, and he'll eat like 3 or 4 pieces of the same thing. And but as far and I guess if we had trick or treaters, he would want to hand candy out, but I hadn't had trick or treater in 20 years. So not one in any of my residents that I've been in, and not one trick or treater. So, but he does like to have that big bowl of candy in there in the other room that he can, get his 2 or 3 pieces for dessert every now and then. They don't last that long because I ate way more than 2 or 3 pieces, man. I'm grabbing some shit every time I walk by that damn thing, man, until it's gone, and I leave it alone.
When you think back on Nick Patrick's career of Halloween costumes, which ones really stand out that you were dressed at any point in life? Give me some Halloween costumes. Would you go? Those are pretty top notch. Do you remember any of them?
No, not as a kid. I don't really remember them. No.
Any adults? You're probably traveling a lot. You had Halloween habits a lot.
Yeah, I don't really remember what I dressed up as a kid a lot. It was usually some little gimmick that my mom went and bought, so when I was real little. But when I got older, I think I did. I had a Georgia Bulldog head. I was a Georgia Bulldog. I was a Bulldog one time.
Okay.
And that's really about it. I think I was a vampire one time.
Do you remember Big Nick dressing up any?
Oh yeah, Nick's done a bunch of different stuff, but there were certain costumes, with him being autistic, he didn't want to be closed in, so there was a lot of different things that we got for him. He didn't, like his brother Tony. Tony would want to wear the Batman mask and stuff,
Sure.
Yeah, we get that big, full scale, real deal looking Batman mask.
He's all sweat
you sweat like. And then on Halloween that night, it ended up being like 70 degrees, and you sweat like a dog. It's like, oh,
you trick or treat with the mask pulled up so you can breathe.
Yeah, but that's just Bulldogs and Batmans and stuff like that. That's basically, that was mostly the costumes. And I like some of those old scary old gimmick masks. I had a couple of them, those old man, wicked warlock looking masks. Now my face looks like I don't need a damn mask. But I had a couple of them back in the day. But they were kind of more. One of them was really more creepy looking than scary looking. Like, damn,
Now, are you a decorating guy? Do we got a pumpkin? Do we got anything?
When the kids
Y'all
were
don't have
little.
people walking around, so yeah.
No. When the kids were little, we did all that stuff, but not anymore. And we just buy candy for the sake of it. We know we're going to end up eating it. It's
Yeah, I just got my candy this week. I just got my candy.
Yeah.
And I don't think last year, I don't even think I had maybe one.
You still got one. I hadn't had one, and I guarantee you, in 20 years, I have not had one trick or treater.
Yeah,
And I lived in some apartments for a while. No, that's been further than 20 years now. So I had one when I lived in my apartment. I lived there for 4 years. I had one trick or treater in 4 years. But I lived up on the third floor. And there wasn't an elevator. Them kids are like, man, we're gonna get the hit down here, man.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't want candy that much.
He ain't got no decorations and no lights up, so
we don't exercise to get candy. We just go get candy. That was part.
But I had some kids that lived next door to me, and they hit me first before they went down the steps and went to hit everybody else. So I had one. And that's the only one I've had that's the only one I've had in maybe 30 years, honestly. Yeah.
Since 2000, you've had one.
Yeah, 2000, maybe. Yeah. I had one since 2000.
All right, Biggie. Oh, by the way, Biggie Fitz is in here. Thanks, Biggie. And he said, I have all the respect in the world for Nick as a father. My son also has autism, and he's lived with me for the past 10 years. He's 18 now and ready to pass out candy Friday night.
All right, man. That's awesome. You guys have a blast doing that, man. That's cool to be able to still have fun with the holiday. That was one of the things I missed because my boys liked it so much, and I was able to go with them a lot of different times. And I was always I felt sad because Big Nick is still kid-like in a lot of ways, and I thought that it would bother. But hell, it bothered me worse than it bothered him. He's like, okay, so I'd stay home and watch football and eat candy out of the bowl and not sweat my ass off and walk through 2 neighborhoods, So that's okay, Dad.
That sounds like a pretty smart trade-off where I'm from. Yeah. I mean, that's basically what we're doing now. Is just buying the candy and sitting there. All right. If you've got a question, hit us up in the live chat. We'd love to get to anything you want to talk about. Tomorrow, Nick, is Edge's birthday.
Okay.
What's your relationship sharing the ring with Edge?
I thought he was a hell of a worker. It was fun to watch. He come along and I liked to watch because I didn't watch a whole lot of the other product, but I did see him and Christian when they first started. They were little skinny looking guys doing the vampire gimmick years ago.
Yeah,
and they've just both changed so much over the years. And Ed's become one of the premier workers in the industry for his generation. And that took a lot of work and a lot of time and dedication and fighting through injuries and stuff. But he did it, and he's one of the guys that can make an impact at different companies still to this day. He's helping with down there at AEW, and I saw him make a tease reference to John Cena. So don't think for a second that if he didn't come back and do a WrestleMania match with Cena, that wouldn't be off the charts.
Incredible. Yeah, that would be incredible.
And what a pop it would get too. When that music hit, those people would come freaking unglued.
I don't know if they could pull it off, but if they did, you are right. It would be a huge pop.
Yeah, it would.
Nick, I haven't asked you about this. I didn't even, we didn't text about it or talk about it before we went live. But what was your relationship? Mike Rotunda is in the news. I don't know if you saw going through some health issues. At first, it was said that he was in hospice care.
Right, I saw that, and I saw something different just before I got on.
Yes,
I saw something different. It comes straight from the family, evidently.
It did. It said, on behalf of the Rotunda family, our family would like to take a moment to clarify some information currently circulating online regarding my father, Mike Rotunda. Yes, my Uncle Barry did make a comment mentioning that my father is in hospice care while answering a question about our late family member whom we lost 2 years ago. We want to make it clear that he misspoke, not intentionally. My father is not in hospice, but rather in rehabilitation center. He suffered a massive heart attack on September 20th, was in a coma for a week, and spent over a month hospitalized. By the grace of God, he's now transitioned to a rehabilitation center where our family remains present, hopeful, and focused on his recovery. And so they go on to say, we kindly ask for privacy as we continue walking this journey together, but we warmly welcome continued prayers, good energy, and healing thoughts for his recovery. So first, that sounds like it's not a good situation, but a better situation than what was first announced. But Nick, what was your interactions with the Rotunda family?
I worked with Mike a lot, and we never really traveled a lot together, but I worked with him a lot, and especially in WCW, and his kids were very small, and I don't even think his daughter was born when we were yet. I don't think so. When we was doing the TV tapings down in Disney in Orlando, but his son. It ended up being Bray Wyatt. He was just a little boy, man, and he smiled all the time, man. And when I saw his character do that crazy smile, I thought, damn, he looks like he did when he was a little kid playing. Like he found something But him and his little brother, they'd just be playing, and the mom would be sitting there watching them, and they had his female Rottweiler. And that female Rottweiler would sit right in the middle of them two boys and watch over them, boy. And nobody wouldn't come mess with them two boys, I'll tell you right now. She wasn't mean. She wasn't aggressive. But if you come walking over and told them, she'd give you that look. I'm watching you.
I'm on the job.
Yeah, I'm watching you. Like, okay. Yeah.
You've known that you've known Bray since he was a little kid, and Rotunda backstage. What a great worker! Him and Barry, of course. When they say Uncle Barry, that's Barry Windham.
Yeah, I remember his dad talking about. I remember his dad talking about him when he was playing football as well too. Because he played football at that's college, South Alabama. Troy. Yeah, Troy. Yeah, he was one of their football players there. So yeah. I remember all that. He was just just a kid.
When you think back on Rotunda and Wyndham together, just talk about them together as a tag team and what made them so good.
This is their knowledge, their psychology, and they were both very good workers, but they were both a little bit different, so they had a little bit of contrast, look and style. Mike was more technical, because he had that amateur background, and Barry was more. Just worker style, Mike had, but they both had, they had tremendous psychology, and they just seemed to gel together. Some people just click timing wise, and they worked together long enough to where when you work with somebody that much, you kind of learn, what the other one's going to do, and it just flows like a machine, and they had the ability of doing that. They were a damn good team.
Just incredible guys. Got heat, got baby face, whatever you needed them.
Yeah, whatever you needed, they could do.
And they got it to the extreme. I mean, when they started checking people's taxes, they had the world against them. Yes, like we said, not a great story for the Rotunda family, but a better one than originally we all thought. Yeah. And so we will honor their wishes and continue to send them good energy and healing thoughts their way. And wanted to make sure we brought that up. We had some people asking about it and seeing if you guys had a relationship or not, but always sending good vibes their way and wishing him hope he kicks out and be back in front of everybody soon. Nick, you got the last one to wash out. Is there anything right now on the schedule for you down in Deep South in Atlanta, Georgia?
Well, you got a show coming up at the end of November. It'll be at New Realm, and since we just had the washout, then we're putting this one together as we speak. I'll have more info for you on next week. But before we wrap things up, I want to send a shout out because we lost one of our Deep South guys here just the other day. A young wrestler named Scotty Beach. He wrestled with us, and he was been on the indie scene for a while, and he was one of our Deep South guys here for a while. He did those big bruising and brawling match with Matt Sells. It was an incredible. We've put some of that back out, but I just want to send a shout out to his family and his friends and his colleagues. You know, and everybody. It's and mental health is always check on your friends. Check on your friends if they pull back to themselves and you know something's going on. You know, sometimes don't turn and look the other way. You know, check because you really don't ever know what somebody's going through or how intense it may be. You know, and the worst has happened here. You know, and
Yeah.
so like I say, I had a meeting talking with some of my kids, you know, because there was another friend I have, you know, that had an addiction thing come up, and so I tried to help, you know, help them to find a path as well. But man, just don't turn a blind eye. Say something, help, you know. And I learned the hard way a while back. You know, I won't mention any name, but there was a guy that I covered for, and it wasn't just me. A lot of other people covered for him too, because he had kids and we didn't want him to lose a job. And you know, and things seemed better for a while. You know, but then a couple of years later, they find him dead in a hotel room. You know, so how, did I really help him and his family? You know, I know that it wasn't my fault. You know, but still, you know, you never know. You know,
Yep.
shit like that weighs on you after a while, especially if it's happened to a shitload of people. And if you've been in the wrestling business as long as I have, then you've lost a shitload of people, you know. And
Yeah.
so anyway, not to try and bring everybody down, but
No.
you know, but it's really important, you know, because this kid was deep south and helped us back when we was doing our 7 stages shows back, and you know, and we was trying to really get the thing, get a resurgence going, and we started getting some traction, and he was part of it, and he's helped a lot of the local kids too, you know. And he was a tremendous amateur wrestler as well in the Georgia area. He was really good, but he'll be missed. So Scotty Beach, man, R.I.P. my friend.
Yeah, tell everybody, tell your people you love them. I mean,
Yeah.
just let them know you're there. Let them know they crossed your mind, and you know, you never know what it can do to, like you said, change somebody's day, change somebody's life, change
Might
somebody's.
save a life. Might
Yeah,
save a life.
you never know what somebody is going through, what they're
Yeah.
fighting with. Everything can seem great on the outside, but you never know. And with that, Nick, I think it's a good time to tell everybody we love y'all. We thank
Yeah,
y'all
man.
for joining us, man. Y'all are our friends. Y'all are our family, and we greatly appreciate y'all joining us today. And we will be back here again next week, right, Nick?
Yes,
We'll be back
sir.
here again. Special
I'll
thank you
be
to
here.
everybody who sent a question in. If we did not get to us, join us next week. Thank you to little Jimmy for hitting us up in the super chat as
Yeah,
well. We
y'all.
greatly appreciate it. We do thank y'all. We appreciate it. And we'll see you back here again next week on
Yes, sir.
Podcast Seat Wrestling YouTube for Nick Patrick's Mailbag.